Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman, and we're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Mad, 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 mad world, July 31st edition, Lance. The hits keep on coming.
Well, Bob, I went away. Of course, I sold a house, and I'm packing it. Was away for a couple days, coming back hoping to find that we had new legislation that had passed, and didn't happen.
Well, you know, I had some health. I basically slept the month of April, so I was there even in April? Was it just canceled that it would go directly from March to May?
It was a crazy, crazy month, Bob.
Hey, let's get into our attorney panel. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Grant Burstetta. Was that even close?
Was that good?
Good. Blank Rome, he's out of New York. Marty Teckler, our friend in D.C. Marty was I always want to get this right, Marty. You were the corporate counsel for SBA. You were on the Hill.
Deputy General Counsel, Bob, for a number of years.
Real quick, Marty, what's your specialty?
Well, it's been handling small business administration related matters in both lending and investment primarily, although I do a lot of other corporate work and financial work, along with Grant in our group at Blank Rome, which is the financial restructuring and bankruptcy group.
Cool. Well, gentlemen, thank you both for joining us in these interesting times. Marty, unfortunately, it looks like we're going to have to cancel our our December event at your office.
It's looking that way, unfortunately. We've always sponsored and enjoyed presenting the secondary market summit, but it looks like traveling is going to be difficult this year.
And we've made the decision that we're not going to do a virtual conference on this stuff. The purpose of this is to get together and network. And it's a nice small group, 60, 70 people, and we all interact and something like that. Hey, Marty, we're going to poll questions first, okay? Do you plan on participating in the proposed HEALS Act? Marty, what is a HEALS Act?
Well, we've got legislation that's been proposed in the Senate to provide changes in the PPP program and 7A program, as well as other elements. And that's under consideration now. We're hoping that we get some movement, but it doesn't look hopeful before they go out for recess in August.
Really? You don't think so?
We're hoping.
Okay. Real quick, give me 3 or 4 bullet points that will affect the lending community.
Well, in the PPP area, there's a proposal for a second draw PPP loan, and borrowers can receive up to $2 million under that proposal. And keep in mind, it's proposed legislation. It kind of tracks the PPP system that was established initially and has been implemented and has produced the PPP loan program that we've all been dealing with since the spring. And then in the 7A area, there's a proposal for a 100% guaranteed loan up to $10 million to be made to businesses on proposed terms and conditions that include secondary market activity. So some rather significant proposals, and hopefully they'll be enacted. They are intended to stimulate small business lending after the PPP program terminates. The initial PPP program terminates through the facility of using the SBA as the delivering agency of additional stimulus for the small business sector.
Grant, I think I had the privilege of meeting you last year. What do you do for the firm?
I'm co-chair of our finance practice and mostly focused on structured finance transactions, but I've been sitting at Marty's knee for a while now, learning all about SBA funding and took a deep dive at the end of March into PPP and have been working with a lot of our clients and addressing lots of PPP issues, and now deep into dealing with forgiveness on these loans, as well as trying to help out in M&A transactions how we're going to proceed, where we need some consents from SBA on those transactions.
Grant, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I know there's some people on the line who have no idea what a structured finance transaction is. What is that?
Well, securitizations, any kind of structure in which you need to isolate assets in a vehicle in order to finance those assets. So really just various forms of securitization.
Those are the secondary market activities, Bob, in the SBA program, as well as other government and non-governmental securitization transactions.
Let's see. Let's go to who wants to talk about heroes, Grant or Mickey? Mickey. Mickey Martin.
Who's Mickey?
I don't know. Obviously, it's been a long month, long week, long year. We'll try this again. Marty, tell us what the Heroes Act is.
The Heroes Act is intended to provide benefits to the frontline, primarily to the frontline service providers that have been struggling with the COVID emergency, and their tax benefits, and there are grants, direct grants, and there are other provisions to provide assistance to those who have, primarily to those who have been assisting us in getting through this COVID.
Marty, I look at these numbers, 11% yes, 11% no. What that tells me, the industry, is we're truly getting the PPP overload, and we need a lot more information before we start making decisions to participate in these programs.
Well,
go ahead, Lance. I'm sorry.
Well, the problem, Bob, is we don't know which one will pass. We don't fully understand the content of each of the, I mean, we've all read the proposal, but when they finally work it out and agree on something, it could be different.
Yeah. Grant, so following up what Marty was saying, if this isn't done by August 10th when they go in recess, the consensus is it's not going to be done?
Well, I think that we will get some action, but it just may not be until Congress comes back from recess. I mean, even at the start of all this, right, the PPP took longer to get put in place than we had originally expected that it might. And I think that, part of what you're seeing in your poll questions and what Lance is suggesting is that until it becomes a little bit more concrete, it's hard for folks to really focus on it. I'll admit, I haven't really looked at the legislation all that closely on the expectation it's gonna change. I can just lean on Marty to look at the details and
I may have to start doing that because I've read it and I still don't know what's going on with it. So
well, I think you can, Bob. I think you can boil it down to a couple of principles. Number one, I think they are going to do something to extend PPP activity after the deadline. So you're going to get another round of PPP lending. In the interim, before they do that, if they don't do it before the recess, and it's appearing that it's not going to happen before the recess, it appears. We've got all this forgiveness to struggle with now going forward on the existing portfolios, and what to do with for the lenders that are in your audience, what they need to do in order to get that accomplished, and they have a lot of decisions to make about what they're going to do with their loans, whether they want to do the forgiveness or whether they want to. We've been in contact with lenders and done transactions, structured transactions that include the sale of portfolios from one lender to another, and I think you might see some activity in that regard.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to do in the interim with the PPP program. With the 7A program legislation, that's really intriguing because, God willing, there will be an end to the need for the PPP program at some time soon, but I don't think that there'll cease being a need for enhanced assistance to the small business community by any stretch of the imagination. And the vehicle for delivery of that, I think, is going to be the 7A program, with interesting possibilities like an enhanced guarantee all the way up to 100%, larger loans, increased appropriations for the SBA to administer. So we'll have our plate full regardless of when.
Let's do this. Lance and I are doing a webinar next week on construction. Go back, Joseph, please.
Well, one thing, Bob,
Please, Lance.
I was just going to say, Bob, one thing, Marty, I got excited when I heard some of the things he's talking about, because I've had transactions, opportunities that I've looked at that if they increase the amount of the SBA 7A loan, that, I have to move them somewhere else at this point because they're too big. This would give me an opportunity to go forward with those projects.
I think that's what's going to happen, Lance. I think you're going to see some real enhancements to the basic 7A authority, the basic 7A program. It's proven to be a successful vehicle for assisting small business, and it can be enhanced in a number of ways. I mean, there's awareness of the secondary market activities that's demonstrated in some of this proposed legislation. The need for a larger loan, a larger guarantee, that's all going to spell enhanced activity in the 7A area, I think. So if there's a silver lining to this very dark cloud that's hanging over, I think SBA is going to be significantly appreciated by the legislators, and the appropriations will increase.
Marty, you and I have been in this game a long time, and we've seen the agency run the gamut from shut them down to where we are today, which is they definitely have a seat at the table and they're driving policy.
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
there's an appreciation for what it is. It's a really good vehicle for helping the economy, and helping the small business community is helping the economy.
Yeah. Hey, let's go to the answers. I'm sorry, Grant, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think we've seen too, coming out of the financial crisis in 2009, that once the government finds a method that it likes to use, it'll go back to that method again and again. We're seeing it with how the Fed is running its program. So this is tremendous opportunity for SBA and all of us that work in this space to continue to build on that. And I think that we'll come back around to these programs and use them again. So this is great for everybody who's in this part of the industry, I think.
How has COVID affected your construction projects? Obviously, we're referring to 7A 504, significantly 13%, sort of 49%, not really 31%. And we're not being affected at 7%. Lance, what do you think of those numbers?
Well, I think we have a variety of people who participate in the Coleman Report Live. It's hard for me to consider being a financial institution and not at least answer sort of on the impact on construction projects. But the other thing to think about, if you look at the restaurant industry, which is getting hammered, if you look at a restaurant project right now that includes construction, probably 12 to 15 months to build out, hopefully we'll be past this, and they'll be opening at just the right time.
I assume the plans will include takeout facilities and logistics and all that. Hey, let's get Marty in here real quick. Tell us about the proposed changes to small business related sections of the HEALS Act.
I'm not getting that one, Bob. What's the direction?
What's in the HEALS Act? If you don't have, do you have access to our screens?
I don't have it in front of me.
No problem. Let's have Grant or Lance hop in then.
Well, I think that if you look at this, and Grant, I'll take number one and you can take number two if you want to, but initially they had proposed that to participate in that second shot at the PPP,
Okay.
you had to have a 50% reduction in revenue in a year-over-year comparison, and they're looking at reducing that to 30%, which certainly is going to open it up a lot. And I was talking to someone in the service sector the other day, and they were telling me immediately in March they had about a 75% drop in revenue. But by May, it was about a 35% drop in revenue, and it's kind of stabilized at that point. Under the previous, percentage, he would not have been able to participate, but now he will, and he needs the help.
Lance, are we talking government fiscal quarters or calendar fiscal quarters?
Or for the comparison,
yeah.
I think we're going to look at regular business quarters and compare 20 to 19.
Great. Grant, do you know what's going on with the ability to get a second draw?
Well, I think one of the key aspects is that it's going to be limited to companies that only have 300 employees. So they're ratcheting down the size a little bit on that, trying to get it more focused on the I guess,
right.
the truly smaller businesses.
Yeah, I'm reading this. Okay, so 300 and less. Okay.
Go
to the next slide, Joseph.
Bob, I wanted to just share with you, Bob. We all read these stories, and today's Friday, so there's a Fraud Friday story out there. You haven't seen many $50,000 PPP loans with fraud issues. It's the 500 employee, 3.9 million, and they go out. What was the story today? Bought a Lamborghini.
Yeah, well, it's greed, and what's the old saying? Hogs get slaughtered, and that's what.
Yep.
Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered.
And you go for a $2 million loan, and you don't have any viable businesses. You got a target on your back. So, anyway, these are some of the other things that are happening. Obviously, as next week transcends, we hope to have better clarity in what this is going to look like. But let me just ask you, let me go around the horn on all three of you. Is this a good deal for Main Street and the lending industry? Grant?
Well, it seems like this is kind of marginal change. I think we've gotten probably the big part of what we're going to get out of PPP. And as Marty suggested, that the enhancements to the existing 7A program, that's potentially long-term positive for all of us in this industry.
Lance?
Well, Bob, the most intriguing thing that I've heard today is what Marty said. Increasing the size of the 7A loan would be huge. Increasing the guarantee on the 7A loan would be huge. If you want to get jobs back out into the economy, that would allow a bank to go out and find a good, strong, healthy business that wants to expand and create a large number of jobs. I think that's going to be incredibly impactful in terms of the second shot at the PPP. I think it'll be helpful for some, but I think the biggest shot into the economy will be increasing the size of the 7A and increasing the guarantee on the 7A loan.
We have questions from Kim. Kim, I've been meaning to send you an email. I really appreciate all your kind emails to me. And yes, I'm doing well. Fortunately, Grant, I had some interesting health issues. Russell, and not COVID. Russell and David and Corey, and we will get to those on Monday. Shout out, some of you may know Ami Kassar with Multifunding. Shout out to him. Lance, I got an email from him yesterday that he does have COVID.
Oh, gosh.
Hopefully it will be the milder version and he'll be
So far,
fine.
he's saying
I'll be
it's
praying for him.
the milder version, and he said the biggest problem he has is being locked up in a room because family's not letting him out, and he's in prison. They're sliding food underneath the door. Anyway, hey, gentlemen, Grant, thank you so much for spending time with us. Marty, let's have you back on again. Thank you so much.
Love to do it, Bob.
Great. And thank you for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.